Hello and welcome back for another installment in our Courtroom Confidential Conversation series. For this episode, please join me in welcoming Mark Bowden from the wildly popular YouTube channel, The Behavior Panel. Hello, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm good. Good to be here with you, Josh.
Very good. I'm thrilled that we were able to make this work. I know how busy you are. You've got a lot of spinning plates that you are handling, so I appreciate you being able to carve out some time for us. And I was telling you beforehand, these interviews have become one of the most popular things that we do on our YouTube channel. And I can understand why, because people want to know about the creators they've been following for such a long time. But I selfishly thoroughly enjoy them because I get to meet people like yourself and have these conversations, and everybody that I've talked to has got an amazing story. And I guess that shouldn't be of no surprise to me, but I really look forward to all of these little glimpses into the backgrounds of people that I am a fan of as well. So I thank you again.
Well, my pleasure. My pleasure. I'm interested in what you'd like to know, or what the public want to know.
They want to know. They want to know everything. The fans want to know everything. So let's start. Let's start from where did you grow up? Tell us a little bit about your upbringing.
Yeah. Okay. So I was born in a town 60 miles north of London called Northampton. So that's London, England, not London, Ontario in Canada.
Gotcha.
London, England. So imagine yourself, Great Britain.
Right.
There's a country in it
called an island over there. Right. Okay, I got
country in it called England. The capital of England is London. However, at one point in history, the capital was meant to be Northampton. There's a whole bunch of reasons why Northampton didn't become the capital. One major reason in that it burnt down, and so there wasn't much left of it. But I was born in Northampton. I was born in the same house that I then lived in for about 16 or 17 years. I mean, literally in the house that I then lived in for most of my, early life, childhood and teens. And then I moved to London, England, and spent a lot of time there. But I went to school in just normal schools that kids went to. I wasn't at a private school. I was at a public school, a comprehensive school, and was there until around, I think, 17. And then I went to a university in London. How's that?
That is excellent. What university in London first, just because I'm curious?
Yeah. Okay. So I went to what is now Middlesex University, which wasn't anywhere near Middlesex. It was actually in Hertfordshire.
Just to make it confusing for everyone.
Right. And part of Hertfordshire impinged beyond the M25 into Greater London, an area, Oakwood, Cockfosters, Enfield. And so I lived for a time when I was at Middlesex University. At the time, it was Middlesex Polytechnic. So in the later 80s, early 90s, a lot of the polytechnics turned into universities. And so I ended up actually having studied at a university. I didn't start at a university. It ended up 3 years later as a university.
Obviously, one of the things we're going to get into is this incredible world of the study of behavior. What would you best describe the field of study that you are in?
Well, I would say the field of work that I'm in is helping people to stand out, win trust, credibility every time they communicate. Okay, that's the end result that I'm looking for people. I'm trying to help people understand themselves and understand others so much better that they're able to communicate at a way higher level and get more of what they want faster for less energy. It's really the economics of human behavior and human communication. Now, what many people see me in, that are probably here today, is the behavior panel. And there we're tending to look a lot more at the analysis of behavior, the analysis of body language, what people say, what people do. So paralanguage, everything outside of language, and then language as well, stuff that people are saying. And I particularly like to look at culture as well within all of that, knowing that we are not individuals, we are members of groups. And so, your behavior, my behavior is part of how we're social mammals and are constantly in reference and as a result of all the others around us. So that's what people probably know me best for. But the majority of my work is actually on helping people understand exactly what they can do on purpose in order to have the effect that they want to have, be that in mainly business, organizations, and politics. That help?
That helps. And what I love about it too is as you're describing this, I can imagine that skill being probably one of the most valuable skills any human being can have. I mean, from what, I don't care what walk of life you're in. If you're in tire sales, or if you're you're a high level stock trader, whatever it is, the ability to kind of communicate and project yourself with effect, I can imagine it would help you in no matter what walk of life. But getting back to your university life, this is why I kind of wanted to cue this up. When you first went to university, was that something that you were interested in? Is that what you originally thought, this is what I'm going to go to school to learn about?
I was primarily interested in images and how images affect us and other people. So how an image, especially if I create that image, what that image can do to me physically and psychologically, and then what it can do to other people, individuals and groups, physically and psychologically. Then I got into the idea of moving pictures, especially moving pictures of human beings, whether those images are live in a space or whether they're recorded on a medium in some way. I got obsessed with what do you have to do with the moving image of a human being in order to get a set result out of another human being or system of human beings. So what would I need to play to a group in order to get a desired result out of them? That was my obsession.
I love that. Was this with like a goal towards perhaps a field in advertising, or was it just purely this kind of academic fascination you had with it?
Well, I did end up working in advertising quite a bit in all kinds of roles and training people in advertising and coming up with creative content in advertising and also techniques within advertising. So that is an area that I went into. Originally, it was all about the still image, about creating images, art images. I was a fine artist, and so I was obsessed with that. And actually, if we want to get in depth with it, how you can make a physical object that will then imprint other mediums, and those other mediums then have a result on a human being and their actions and their thoughts. And in between, what happens with that in between medium in order to translate this impulse, I would say that you have. So I was in the world of the art.
Do you still pursue art? Is that still part of your life?
I'm still a big collector of it. I haven't made any that many people would see as kind of images hung on walls for a long time. However, I would still count myself as an artist. So and so here's the purpose of art, in my view. Art is to remind you that you're alive. That's its job, to remind you that you're a living human being. And so when I go, when I'm in front of any audience, like now, so Josh,
yes,
do you feel like you're here right now?
I do, and I feel alive.
Yeah. Okay. So everything that I'm doing right now is to trigger you into this impulse that, like, this is happening right now, and it'll never happen again. Yeah, you can watch this again. You're going to be able to watch this back. But this that's happening between you and me right now, this is never happening again for you.
Yes.
We can get together again. Of course we can. But it's never going to pan out like this one does.
Yes.
And so you got a choice now. Either be here now or go somewhere else. Because this is happening right now. And if you're not here right now, you will miss it. Which is okay if you want to miss it, but you will miss it. And so,
and you'll feel that in yourself that you're going to miss it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's attractive. That's engaging. Can be charismatic.
100%.
Yeah. And
I was
so,
just thinking that some of the most charming, charismatic, engaging people I have ever met are people who have that quality in spades, that ability to make me feel like when I'm speaking with them, there's no one else in the room, and that this moment is such a very special moment. And it could be a matter of just sharing a few pleasant words with someone. It's not even
right.
like they're trying to sell me. They don't have an agenda or an angle that I know of, but it's just about kind of that short interaction and those people that I walk away from going, oh, wow, what a charming person, or what a totally charismatic, engaging person that was. It's because of that ability to just make that moment feel very real.
Right, right. And imprint that energy on the medium of the moment. Yeah, like
Yeah,
I'm all in right now, Josh.
right.
I'm all in. Everything is about this moment here. And that's what I would say is a performance state. And that's something you choose to do or you don't do. It isn't a natural procedure. It's learnt techniques. So it's communication, which is a learnt skill to do it really well. I mean, we can all do it averagely, you know.
We
We
could
can
get by.
get
We could
by.
order something at
Sure.
McDonald's, right?
Sure, absolutely. And you'll get a McDonald's, which is so long as that's what you wanted, okay, that's okay. But if you want more, if you see yourself as needing or wanting or just wanting to try and experience something more than that, it may be that the communication that got you the McDonald's is not the communication that will get you more than that. And
Mhm.
listen, you might then, train in the communication, and you may be disappointed by the more that you got, but you'll never know until you
Yeah.
risk,
Yeah.
being all in on an idea and testing it out.
God, I'm just, the more you talk, the more I think about, again, how valuable this must be to have those skills. Because I'm thinking about people going into, even job interviews, and they may
Mhm.
be immensely qualified, and they went to every right school and got all the good grades, and they have all the research and all the work that you've ever wanted. But if that person sitting in front of you doesn't hop off the page, as it were, in that interaction with you, then they're not gonna be the one to get hired. And it's that person with the everything that you've just described. I feel like they're going to have the advantages of above others.
Well, so long as there's competition, okay, so
Mm,
long as there's competition for something that is of advantage, then we have to work out who gains the thing of advantage. How do we choose? If we have the power to deliver the thing of advantage, we have to choose who gets it. It can't be an infinite resource, else it wouldn't be an advantage. Everybody would
right,
have it. The advantage
right,
is the stuff that people don't have. And so somebody has power to deliver out that advantage. How do they choose who gets it and who doesn't? Well, they maybe go, well, who's best? Who's going to be best with it, or who deserves it in some way? And if there's competition, then there's a strong possibility that the person who could get the leader who had jurisdiction over that advantage, the person who could get them to cooperate with them to give it over, wins it. So Josh, it's really about communication. It's about cooperation.
mm,
We're social mammals, okay?
right,
Like you and I are doing this together, okay? If
right.
I did this on my own, it'll be a different thing. If you do it on your own, it'll be a different thing. This is us cooperating together. And in order to cooperate really well, our communication has to be at a really high level. Okay. And so if I want something from you, I need something from you, and you have this advantage resource, and it's finite, and I'm in competition. If I can get you to cooperate with me and me alone more than anybody else, I stand the highest chance of getting that resource. And communication, especially non-verbal communication, is my most economical, I would say, intervention into getting you to cooperate with me rather than anybody else.
I want to get back to, at some point, you're in university. How do you make your way over to
Right.
Canada and everything else? But I could talk to you about this for hours. And one last kind of in the weeds point on this is,
Lovely.
someone, and I wish I remember where I heard it, but they were talking about how fears that we have. And one of the
Mm,
greatest fears that human beings has is public speaking. And they've tried to figure out evolutionarily why that is. And someone I heard, I think it was during a podcast, made a comment that if you think back to millennia ago, when we were living in caves and living in tribes, the ability for a person to communicate leadership and get cooperation out of others in the tribe was such a valuable tool to have, and that the person who wasn't able to do that would be ostracized from the tribe, which was basically a death sentence. So there's this fear of public embarrassment, that public kind of ridicule or being ostracized is so important to us because it's built into literally our DNA and survival skills. And as you're speaking, that's what I'm reminded of.
Yeah, so there's a lot to talk about there. Let me dig into it deep, because you've hit on something really important. Let me give you a few aspects of this in their extreme. Let's take the communicator. Let's take the communicator that can communicate at a really high level to the group and get them to cooperate. And then let's say they can then inscribe that on a material and get that material moved to other groups and start to get them to cooperate. Let's just say that material is something called video. And so I can inscribe on this video, my ideas, and they can move thousands and thousands of miles and live throughout time in order to influence and persuade people. That is incredible magic. Now put yourself next to me and just say, hey, you're not going to do that, or you can't do that. Well, you have no advantage over me. I'm a magician. You are just a mere mortal. I'm now a god, because I can move through time and space with my message, and you can't. Now, here's the thing about me being the magician and the god and moving through time and space with my magic. There's a risk. There's a risk, because what if I open my mouth and say something and do something which people don't like? It's not just one person who doesn't like me. It's thousands of people who don't like me. And if they don't like me enough, they could take me out of the gene pool. So in order to open my mouth, inscribe the images or words into a medium and transport that medium to the many, I take a bigger risk. Now, there's other people out there who go, hang on, what if they don't like me? What if I'm judged? Okay, well then I'm dead. Okay, well, but I'm not dead now, because I'm having this thought, this risky thought of judgment. So I'm not dead now, but I possibly would be dead if I opened my mouth and moved it across time and space to the many. But there's a risk that if I then do open my mouth, people won't like it. But if I don't open my mouth, well, I won't be as powerful as everybody else, but they might die in the I'm just alive right now. I'll just do nothing. I'll just do nothing. Okay, so you got all the people who do nothing. Then you got the people who take the risk of communication and getting themselves killed and cancelled. I mean, literally, you've got people out there who will say something at pain of death. Pain of death. Yeah.
Yes.
So are you going to be one of those people? I'm not saying you should, and that's really risky. Okay. Or are you going to be the person who goes, that's a bit too risky? Okay. Because here's the other thing. If you open your mouth and you get rejected, your dopamine levels go down. You get this dopamine crash. Okay. The neurochemicals go up that cause you often to get ill. Okay. They lower your immune system. If it goes badly for you and you get ostracized, you're wiping yourself out of the gene pool.
Incredible.
You're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't. Okay. But there's this little sweet spot in the middle where you just stay alive and eat McDonald's. It's a sweet spot. It's like you're living and partially living. Okay. Now, some people, and these would be my clients, they go, I want more. Like, I don't want to be partially living. I want to remind myself that I'm alive again. I want to remind everybody else that they're alive again. So they go, hey, Mark, what do I do? And I go, well, here are the actions you do. Here's the things that you say. Here's how you conjure imagery in people's minds and change the world in their mind so that they start changing it outside of that. Okay. And people start going, oh, man, no, but I can't do that. You can't say that, can you? You can't do that. And I go, well, I can. Some of my other clients have. What you're saying is you've never heard yourself say it. You've never seen yourself do it. Yeah, you're worried about the punishment and prizes. And at the moment, the punishment looks so big to you that it's outweighing the prize. And you're going, I'll stay in the muddy middle where I don't get into any risk. And it's my job to help them move out of that muddy middle, yeah, and into something which is way bigger, that has so much more risk. Because the moment they open their mouths and move in this bigger way, suddenly they're gaining attention. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a reason the peacock has those feathers. Yes.
Right.
Okay. Because it's more easily seen by a mate. Okay. And it's more easily seen as having got resource, because you can't get those beautiful feathers unless your diet has been a really high diet for the peacock. Okay. There's a risk. Predators can see you immediately. So every time that peacock splays its feathers and rattles them around, all the predators are going, there's a fantastically big bird over there. Look, there's dinner. There's dinner. That's the same for all of us. The moment we step out and poke our heads over the parapet, there's a risk and there's a reward. And we got to always weigh up. Does the risk outweigh the reward or vice versa?
Incredible. You got me pumped. First of all, I want to know where to sign up, but secondly, I am pumped. Thank you for all of this. Okay, I do want to get back though to you brought us to you're in university. You're starting to have this fascination with, I love the way you describe it, about images and the effect that they can have on people. What came next? Where now you've graduated, what did you decide to do with that? How were you going to turn that into a career?
Yeah. Okay. So I'd spent my time at that university and other places all over the world as well, and studying with masters from all over the world in how you tell stories with pictures. I would say that's the best way to say it. How you tell stories with pictures and how you create stories that change people's minds, change their life. Okay, and remind them that they're alive again. And so now I'm going all over the world as a performer, as training performers, as a director, training directors, producing theatre, film, TV. Okay.
Oh wow.
So I'm now performing, creating, helping other creators make this stuff at a time in British media and certainly theatre when what we call total theatre or visual theatre was at its peak and its prime. We decided that writers owning the theatre, so the literary mass owning the theatre, was creating boring theatre that didn't remind people that they're alive. And we wanted to create theatre that we call total theatre, which totally immersed the human being, that they felt like they were swimming in a soup of experience. Yeah. And so, out of that movement came things like Cirque du Soleil, Judy Timor's The Lion King, really visual theatre that now we kind of go, oh yeah, no, of course everybody's seen Cirque du Soleil. That was at the time, that was the idea that you could just have something which was just the beauty of movement and the danger of movement that would remind people that they were alive, that they'd sit there, their heart beating fast because of this just beauty of visual image wasn't done. It's like, where's your writer? Where's your poet? Nobody's written anything. You can't just do stuff.
Where's the script?
Where's the script?
There's nothing on this script.
Yeah. And in our world, we're just going to make it up. We'll make it up. Yeah, we'll make it. So that was my world. So listen, I got really good at how you move audiences, so how you move them emotionally and in their thought processes, make them think different things. And my intervention to that was human movement. If I move in a certain way, they will move in a certain way, and they'll start to think and feel in a certain way, a really predictable way. Then politics and advertising and institutions and business came to me and said, well, we've heard of all this work that you're doing in that area and the effect that it's having. Can you do that with a politician, with a business leader, with an advert, with all of that stuff? And I said, yeah, I can. And so politics and business opened up. And then I realized just how low the bar was there. I mean, just incredibly, it was astonishing to me, because I'd trained and worked at a really high level in my area. And by the way, many of these techniques were just not written down as well. They were literally thousands of years old, but they'd been handed from artist to artist to artist and not written down. You went to a master who'd been to a master who'd been to a master. Yeah, and you could trace back the families back to the original families who were the creators of this, back hundreds and in some cases thousands of years. So it wasn't written down. There was no need to write it down, which was good for me because I was dyslexic. So university was tough as well, and obviously visual medium worked really well for me. I think almost exclusively sometimes in visual images. So if you're telling me something, I'll see the pictures of it and then start moving the pictures around in my head before I then talk back to you as to what I've moved, what you've talked about, and moved it and manipulated it into something else. And then I feed back my manipulation of what you said to you. Anyway, so these things weren't written down. And so nobody in business or politics knew these techniques. Politics to an extent, business not at all. That was really new. Commerce is relatively, commerce is probably, let's just say, it's probably about 7,000 to 8,000 years old or something like that. Politics, way older, way older.
Right.
The institutions of power and how you play power, but how you trade with kind of modern economic tools, that's a little bit newer. So business really had no idea what they were doing in terms of communication.
So did you actually start a business doing this, or was it that you got contacted and started to consult and take on clients? How did this turn into like a profession for you?
Yeah, so I just got asked. Usually what would happen is I'd be training actors or directors, and the nature of London is it's a big kind of pot of everybody connected with all kinds of people doing all kinds of stuff, whether it's business or politics. It's very heavily connected with arts, because that's the nature of a major city that's been around for thousands of years, since the Iceni, then the Romans, and then onwards. Okay, it's everything about human life has been there for a long time, and now it's thoroughly interconnected. And so if I was working in arts, it would be very easy to be put in contact and recommended to somebody who was in politics or running a large business. And the word of mouth was, this guy really knows what he's doing and can transform people. And so people would go, well, I hear you can do transformations. And I was, yeah, I'll give it a go. And it was really, it's like a hot knife through butter, because it's, there's what's happening above the board and there's the wiring underneath the board. And if you think of me like a mechanic engineer, I know all the wiring underneath the board. And so for me, it's like I pull out that wire and stick it over there, and just the sparks fly. People go, wow, how did you do that? It's just, well, that's connected with that. You just don't know that how economic you can be about getting a result if you know the wiring under the board, if you know the mechanics of it.
Can you share with us like a story or a transformation you saw in someone where, you know, I'm imagining in my head kind of that typical movie with the ugly duckling that all of a sudden becomes the, you know, the beautiful princess at the end of the movie or something. Was there a situation where you had a person, a client that may have appeared helpless and you were able to, like you said, rewire this person, and the transformation is something that sticks with you?
Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time. Let me give you one that somebody came to me and said, "Hey, every time I get up and speak, I come out in hives." So
Wow.
spots, and the spots, she said, would go up to her. They wouldn't go to her face. So her system was being kind enough to only deliver the fear or the response this high and not through the face. But
Right.
she was saying, "Hey, I have to go on, in front of the business audiences, into meetings, and wear a polo neck sweater in order
Incredible.
to." So
As long as I'm wearing turtlenecks, I'm
yeah,
fine. But
yeah.
right.
But obviously, she could feel it underneath, and on investigation of this, there had been a real inciting incident with a senior leader at the time who had, through a comment that I would put as relatively unfair and potentially cruel and damaging and purposely damaging, I would say, had triggered this response in her, which was now playing out each time.
Wow.
Okay. Uh, so look, simply, I said, okay, well, we'll fix that. So I gave her the countermeasure for that. You can't stop fear. You shouldn't stop fear because it's an important thing. You'll get run over by cars if you stop fear, but you can countermeasure it. And there are many, many countermeasures that you can try. And the skill of what I do is to look at somebody, see what they're doing, see how they're behaving, or hear stories about that if I can't put them in that situation. But obviously, sometimes I'll just put them in that situation. I'll reenact that more than well enough that they get triggered, so I can see what happens, see what the body does, or what they say, what they're saying to themselves, and what the body does. Anyway, so I give the countermeasure to that, and it countermeasures. So there's no flushing and no hives, spots
Mhm.
anymore. And then I said, okay, so now here's what we're going to do. We're going to go and get that person's job. Okay, you're going to have his job.
I
Yeah,
love
we're
this.
going to get you promoted into his role for
Yeah.
that. Now, I one value of mine, Josh, is fairness. Now, fairness is like, what I think is fair isn't necessarily what you think is fair. Is that it's, fairness is dependent on a whole bunch of other value systems. I thought what the person had done was vindictive. I thought it was unfair. I thought it was cruel, and I don't have much tolerance for that. And I get quite angry. And if somebody's my client, I start feeling very pro them, and
Gotcha.
and and also, like, if I get something in my head, I'm a dog with a rag. Okay, so whether she wanted the job or not is that's
It was
yours.
gonna happen.
That's going to happen now.
Right.
Anyway, 6 months later, she had the job, and
Wow.
then got promoted on from that, and promoted on from that, and promoted on from that. So
Incredible.
that for me is the example of look, you can have a lot if you choose your behaviors in the right way, and also you ask for it in your out loud voice or with your out loud body. Yeah, people are not mind readers. They have no idea what you're thinking or feeling. So that you're thinking it hard, yeah, makes zero difference as far as I can see. There'll be other people who
Right.
go, no, you can create a vision board and just keep it to yourself and stick things on it, and like, okay. My view is like, I can play psychic chess, or I can go and move the chess pieces and
Right.
actually play the game physically. My favorite interventions are the physical ones.
How often, and I've noticed this just kind of anecdotally, and I'm curious your thoughts. How often do you find that people who are high level performers, people who have to kind of be in front of audiences and have to be the kind of communicators that you're talking about, also really struggle with that there is still kind of a nervousness and anxiety and fear? Because I think we see some of these people who, we may see them on television all the time or speaking in front of people all the time, and they just look like they were born doing it. And I'm surprised at how many of those people I meet, and they say how nervous they still get. And I'm like, you get nervous? Like, I can't imagine you being someone with any kind of anxiety, with as comfortable as you look and how often you do this. But as you were speaking, I guess it's just that ability to, like you said, use countermeasures or get past those fears and still perform. Do you find that that's more common than you might think?
Here's what I'd say. If you are opening your mouth and you're not getting nervous, you're not saying enough and you're not talking to the right people. Like, you are underperforming. Yeah. So anybody who goes, well, I don't get nervous. It's like, well, what are you saying and to who?
Right.
And why? What are you wasting your time for?
Yeah.
Like, get out and say something, or don't. I mean, that's fine,
Right.
but don't come to me going, I don't get nervous. Of course you don't get nervous saying that to those people. Of course you don't.
Right.
But don't try and be the hero in front of me that you said that to them. Like, come and tell
Right.
me that you said something that puts you, that when you open your mouth, it puts you at risk. Yeah. Then let's talk about you not being nervous. Then let's
Right.
work out why. Yeah. Then let's work out why.
Let's turn up the heat before we talk about how it's not really hot in the room to you. I love that.
Right. And so look, and so people might go, yeah, but okay, so being in front of 3,000 people and saying this to them, it doesn't make me, yeah, because you've done it a lot. And what are you doing in order to stretch yourself and move things forward for you, for because you've got a lot of power. If you can do 3,000, can you do 4? Can you do 5? Can you do 6? Can you do 20,000? Can you say this to them? Like, what do you really want to say? You want to say the same old thing again and again and again? Okay, well, yeah, you're not going to be nervous. Of course you're not going to be nervous. If it has no risk to it anymore, and if it has no risk, get somebody else to do it. Because you must have done risky stuff at some point to get yourself at that level. Why did you stop? What got you comfortable? But now look, this is a bit extreme, because of course people should be able to go, you know what, I've done what I've done and I'm going to relax now and take it easy. Yeah. So I get that. So just tell me you're relaxing and you're taking it easy. Don't tell me I don't get nervous. Don't come in the hero like that. When
Right.
you've got a whole bunch of other people out there who do, because they are risking it every time at a level that you've stopped doing. Just realize that and accept that.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
I was a prosecutor for 10 years. I'm a defense attorney. And so a lot of what I do is speaking in front of people. And when we have jury selection, we'll have, sometimes 100 people come into a room, perfect strangers I've never met before. And it's my job to get up and try to be somewhat charismatic and speak to these people and get them to like me, talk to them a little bit about the case, find out who they are. And you would think that would be a very nerve-wracking situation. And I'm not saying I don't get nervous, but I don't fear that kind of knot in your chest sort of nerves like I do when, if you were to ask me to give a toast in front of 12 of my friends.
Right.
And it's because exactly what you're saying, these are 100 strangers who I'm never going to interact with these people again. And so that kind of anxiety of, am I testing myself, doesn't exist like 12 of my friends who, if I sound like a dummy, will give me a hard time for it, even though they're people that love me. But I've noticed that about myself. You asked me to give a toast at a wedding, and my knees are knocking together, but you asked me to speak in front of 100 people about some murder case or something, and it's like, okay, I've been here. It's
Well, there's
very,
a big difference about being judged by your peers, and the
yeah,
courts have that element. But you yourself, when you're defending somebody, you are not being judged by your peers. Your client is being judged,
yeah.
if there's a jury, by their peers. Let's up the heat on you a little bit, Josh.
Mm-hmm,
Okay,
mm-hmm.
let's do a thought experiment. Have you ever defended somebody, and if they lose, it's the death penalty?
No, not the
Okay,
death penalty. Yeah.
okay. So this is your closing remarks. If you get this right, if you do this well, yeah, and they're innocent and they get an innocent for innocence from the jury, they live.
Mm-hmm.
And if you mess this up and don't hit
Right.
it right, and they're innocent and they get convicted,
Yeah.
they lose their life. Are you still feeling not nervous?
Right. Right.
Right.
No, the clients that keep me up at night are the ones that I truly feel are innocent. It's not the ones that I feel have, gotten into trouble and are kind of getting their comeuppance, and they've done a lot of wrong, and now the law caught up with them. I still
Right.
struggle with them, and I still try to, but it's the people. If I feel like I'm sitting next to someone who's genuinely innocent, and if I don't get this right, they could go off to prison for the rest of their life. That is where you lose sleep, and that is where it really gets nerve-wracking, because you're
Yeah.
right. The stakes.
Because literally the punishment is big now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's always punishment and prizes. That's what your brain is weighing up: punishment and prizes.
Yeah.
Okay. So look, if the person is probably they're probably guilty, and it's kind of your job just to go, could I get them a slightly more lenient set? Can I get
Sure.
them? Can I give them their best go ever at not getting 5 years? They're getting
Right.
5 years, but can I give them their best go ever at not, knowing that like it would have to be a strange day on planet Earth that they don't get convicted in 5 years? Well, there the risk is much, because you've worked it out. You've gone, look, reality is this is going to happen. So damned if I do, damned if I don't. What will be will be. And then there's the situations where if I get this right, the prize is somebody's life.
Life changing.
Save somebody's life. Yeah, life giving.
Yeah.
life continuing. Okay.
Yeah.
If I get it wrong, they die.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
interestingly enough, your parts of your brain do the same thing in front, doing that, that speech at the wedding. Okay, because it looks out at your peers and it goes, if I don't get this right, society ostracizes me.
Right.
Yeah. And I need to co-opt with them, and they won't give me the resources that I need. We won't be able to trade well together because they'll see me as a lower resource. They'll see everything that I have as lower value. So I won't get as high a value out of them. I'm going to suffer if this goes wrong. Yeah. And your brain knows as well. And it knows if this goes badly, I will have a really bad feeling. And you know what that feeling feels like. Okay. And it actually makes you kind of ill for several days.
Yes.
And it makes you
wake up in a sweat 2 years down the line too.
Right. What did I do? Why did I do that? Oh God. And that is designed to take you out of the gene pool.
Incredible.
It's designed so nobody will come up to you and go, you're pretty successful. I heard your speech. You're pretty successful. Do you fancy trading some genes so that our offspring, could be as successful as you? Yeah.
Right.
The idea is, and we see this in bonobo monkeys, in that when the young teens go up against the main male. Okay, I'm going to avoid using the idea of alpha male because it's a ridiculous idea and it doesn't exist in wolves, monkeys, or human beings at all.
Fair
It's
enough.
a complete construct which has no viability at all. But as the young males go up against the major male, okay, they get one go. Okay, they get one go, and it's either defeat or win. Okay, get one go. If they, many will stand around going, who's going to go? Who's going to go? And one risks it. Okay, one risks it. If they win, they're getting elected up. Okay, if they lose, their levels of dopamine are going to crash so much that they're going to get ill, and they're going to get so ill that they get wiped out of the gene pool.
Incredible.
Yeah, they'll
It's
go off
literally
on
life or
their
death.
own. Yeah, it's a death sentence to fail. It's a death sentence to fail that moment of showing I have resource. I'm a big resource owner. Yeah, the failure on that will get you wiped out of the gene pool. And there's a part of your brain that knows that. So it says, don't you open your mouth. Watch the others.
Yeah.
Yeah, watch the others have success or failure, but don't you do it, because you're just alive enough. You don't need any more. You're alive. Don't step out there. Some of them now, if the testosterone is really high in the male, risk levels go down. So some of the males with the higher testosterone, okay, they just don't see the risk. That's not happening in their head at the time. Now, some will win and some will fail and get wiped out of the gene pool. Yeah. But at the time when they're taking the risk, they don't see as much risk. Also, the higher levels of testosterone have given higher bone growth, muscle growth as well. They're more likely to succeed in that physical battle than the ones with the lower levels of testosterone. They see less risk and they're physically bigger and stronger.
Wow. Again, I feel like I could talk to you about this for hours. This is just fascinating stuff. But I do want to get back to tell us actually what is it you do now? What is your work now? And I want to hear a little bit about the behavior panel and how you got into that and the world of YouTube. But tell us, how your journey has led to where you're at now.
Yeah. So look, the main amount of my days is I travel all over the world, helping people stand out, win trust, gain credibility every time they communicate. And I do that via videos. I do keynote speeches. I train people. I write books. I communicate in ways that is going to help other people get better at communication themselves. Now, those people are all kinds of people. I've got people who are heading up Fortune 500 companies. I've got people who are running countries, either at prime ministerial level or some levels down. People who are running health services. I've got people who are entrepreneurs who are just starting out, and I've got people who are arguably some of the most successful entrepreneurs ever. So I'm helping anybody and everybody who can find the way to work with me. Then I'll be helping them. That's day to day for me. What I'm working on at the moment, well, I just spent the morning working out ways to train AI to do better avatars of me.
Wow.
I'm training it. I'm doing this for another organization who want to use AI avatars, and I've done a lot of work in animation as well, as you can probably imagine. And so, and I have a mind that loves solving problems and doing it in a way that other people haven't quite worked out, because they don't quite have the way that I deal with pictures and images, and so they don't come to the solutions that I necessarily come to. So my morning has been spent just problem solving on how do you get a machine, how do you trick a machine into doing a better job of being you? Is what I'd call it. So that's been my morning. I've been working on that on and off for the last month, and I'll continue a little bit more with that. I'm also working on some other, because obviously AI is interesting and big
Yeah, absolutely.
at the moment. I'm also working with some other AI on how you can get it to best predict somebody's thoughts, feelings, intentions from watching their behavior. So people would call that reading body language.
Incredible.
So I'm working with AI on that as well. Again, how to trick it into being more human in the way it does that, because it tries to do it at the moment like a machine.
Yeah.
And the brain is nothing like a machine or a computer. Nothing, like zero. Does zero stuff, as far as I can see, like any machine that we have. And so what tends to happen is when we want our machines to be more human, we start we start to view our bodies and brains as machines, and we just end up creating more machinery.
That's funny.
Rather than trying to help that machine understand how different we are as human beings about how and why we do what we do, how we make the decisions that we make.
I never thought about it that way, that we are, I can't wrap my head around the way to explain this properly. I mean, you did it so well, that we are non-machines trying to teach machines to be like us, but we're doing it by treating them more like machines, which is counterintuitive.
We end up treating ourselves like a machine.
Like machine, yes.
How many times, Josh, have you heard like, oh, the brain is like a computer?
Right.
And you've nodded your head and gone, oh, yeah. And you've thought that's true. It's absolute patent nonsense.
Yeah.
It's nothing like a computer. Back in Greek times, when Archimedes was particularly popular because he was creating the best machines out there, pneumatics, essentially. He'd worked out, pump stuff with water. You can use water pumps. You can create incredibly strong machines. Yeah. And so people were going, well, the brain is a very strong machine as well. So the brain runs on water. It has different types of water, liquid in it. And so from that, we created the humor system, which said that the brain and the mind is made up of 4 different humors, 4 different types of liquid. It's nonsense. Right. It's as much, but the brain is a computer, is as much nonsense as the brain is 4 different types of liquid. We just take the best and most powerful machine of the time, and we go, and because we don't fully understand this, we go, well, it's that. Yeah,
right. We don't have a better metaphor for it, so it must be like this powerful machine.
Yes. Yeah. And so when it comes to training AI, we go, well, that's the best machine that we have. So then we call it artificial intelligence because we think it's intelligent like us.
Right.
Okay, but it isn't, because it doesn't have a brain like us. So it can't be us. You'd have to, there's humans, there's organic brains, and then there's AI. Okay. And then we go, okay, we want that AI to work like us. Okay, well, how are we like a machine then? So we can teach the machine to be like our machine. It's like they're not the same thing. So I'm trying to teach the AI how simply we think about this complex world in order to come up with very simple judgments, and then test those very simple judgments and see what the ramifications of those simple judgments are within that complex world.
Fascinating.
I'm trying to help it understand just how cheap we are. Just the human brain, like it's a really cheap, it's a very expensive system. Okay, it's super expensive to run the brain, super expensive. Right. It's why childbirth is painful for females, because the brain has to be so big in the womb already that the horse's brain doesn't have to. So horse just pops out and it's walking immediately. It'll never do very much more than walk around and be a horse. Okay. Right. It's like it's come almost to its fullest capacity at that point. Right. I mean, obviously not quite, but you get what I'm saying there. Whereas the human brain has already got to be pretty big. Okay. And then it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's super expensive. Yeah. Super complex in a very, very complex world that it's trying to understand. And how does it do that? By not creating very complex, I'm going to say the word algorithms, so they're not algorithms, okay? But I'm going to use that metaphor, okay? Because it's easier for people to understand, but it's not true. It's a metaphor. It's not true, okay? But we create these very simple algorithms to make sense of a very complex world. And then we test the result of that on that complex world, and then play very simple algorithms, but lots of them, like all at the same time, like a lot of parallel calculation of simplicity all the time. Anyway, as you can see, fascinates me.
Fascinating. So, well, it fascinates me. with the few minutes I have left with you, though, I many of the people watching this are fans of you, or at least started to be a fan of you
Sure.
from Behavior Panel, and I want to talk a little bit about how has your experience with that been, because YouTube is this kind of different animal altogether, in my view. It's this, like, like you said, talking about taking an image and
Yeah.
transporting it around the world, where I
Powerful.
don't know if we have something more powerful for that exact purpose than YouTube. We literally sitting right here, you on the East Coast, me on the West Coast, meet on this weird application, and now we're going to project this over the world. But how has that experience with YouTube been with you, and with the Behavior Panel? And tell us, how you entered into that world.
Yeah. Well, look, number one, YouTube, powerful,
Yeah.
massively powerful,
Yes.
in a way that, for sure, human beings, ordinary human beings like you and I, Josh, have not experienced this before. So I got on YouTube. I'm going to say it was like in 2000, somewhere between 2005 and 2008, I would say, or maybe 2007, pretty much as it came out. And YouTube were going, this is never going to work. Like, here's what I went. This is what I've been waiting for, because it costs me nothing. I can make something on my phone was terrible at the time, but I can make something on my phone. I can put it up there. Yeah. And it's at zero cost. And ultimately it can get across the world. Yeah. To anybody and everybody who has a way of viewing that. Before that, if I wanted some media that I was creating, if I wanted to create something and for hundreds or thousands or millions of people to watch it, I had to go cap in hand to a network, to the BBC or ITV or Channel 4, and say, please, sirs, I've got this great idea. Would you put it on?
Right.
And on the whole, they'd say no, because, we hadn't been to the right school, or knew the right people, or had the right equipment, or had the right money in order to make it in the first place. And I'm not saying, and look, many of us, including me, were doing all of that as well, and going, well, I haven't gone to the right school or the right university, but okay, and I don't have the money, but okay, I'll get the money. We'll do it. We'll do it. Okay. Barrier. This, zero barrier. Yeah. If you want a YouTube show and you haven't got one right now, it's your fault. There's nobody to blame. It's you. You're the barrier right now. You're the only thing getting in your way. You can do it on this. You can load it up for free. And if it's good, people will watch it. And if it's not, they won't. That's it.
Right. Yeah.
That's it. That is an incredibly liberating thing.
Like you said, we've seen nothing like it in history, with the ability of someone with the lowest hurdle to entry to be able to essentially communicate with the entire world. You're right. And to your point too, when you had to go hat in hand to the BBC and hope that they would put it on, even when they said yes, you got what? A 30-second spot that was played one time in history. And if people didn't watch it, that was it for forever. Right. Now you put something out, and for forever it exists. For, like you said, not only is it traveling the world, it's traveling time, because it stays there. Weeks from now, years from now, people are still watching it.
Here's the other thing. And I've experienced this, I continue to experience this. I've experienced this throughout my career, and I imagine I will continue to experience it. And I'm experiencing it right now. You can go to a network and they can go, okay, yeah, let's do that. And you put in time and effort, okay, and you make something, okay, and you think it's good, and it may be good or it may be bad. I don't know. Like, who knows? And then they decide whether people see it or not. They can go no, or they can go yes. Okay. Here, if it's not up, it's because I decided it's not going up. Now, yeah, okay. There is some content I wouldn't be able to put up, probably because it should be taken down. Okay.
Right.
Just okay. You can argue. Many people could argue about that. Okay, but within some some windows. Yeah. There is some, there are some barriers there. But on the whole, the content that I make, and we make at the behavior panel, if it's not up, it's because we've decided we don't want it up. And if it's up, it's because we've decided it's going up. Okay. And the moment you get involved with other entities, yeah, they can go, no, not that. And they don't have to tell you why. They can just go, no, because we're not going to tell you. Yeah. This is liberating for anybody who's a creator, an artist, somebody who loves to make stuff that wasn't there already. What an extraordinary thing to do. Yeah. Like before we started this show together, Josh, there was no show with you and me.
and now, if we decide to put it up, there will forever be.
There will be a show with you and me, and there wasn't one before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
we made
amazing.
something totally unique. Totally unique. Now, the world will judge, and they'll either go, and they can write down below. They can go, "This was the greatest thing ever," or they go, "Who is that? Those idiots, especially that Mark Bowden.
Stole an hour of my life away from me."
Right. Great, good. Do that, because if enough people like it, it'll rise to the top, and if they don't, it won't. And you know what we'll do? We'll just make another one, Josh, if you want to. We'll just make another. We'll just make another and another and another. And so that's my experience of YouTube, and the success that we've had with the behavior panel is, it's for relatively obsessive people who have some narrow obsessions, I would say, who are able to impose those narrow obsessions on stuff that people are interested in, like true crime and politics and entertainment. Okay. And from that, create something that wasn't there before the four of us got together and started talking, something which is truly original and unique and hard to do. So it's hard to get four people. It's hard to have a band.
Yeah.
Get four people together week after week after week. There are so many reasons why that cannot happen. So many reasons. So pretty much almost for the last 5 years, we've managed to do once a week, getting together. We love doing it. We're obsessed. We like being around each other. We're interested in what each other has to say. And we have this end thing at the end that wasn't there.
No.
It's a magical thing.
It is magical. And not only is it magical, like you said, that you've been able to make it work for individuals, like putting together a band, and for as long as you have and consistently as you have, it obviously is magical because other people have noticed and it's become popular and people follow it and they are obsessed with it and love it. And it's absolutely amazing. And I am so touched and so thrilled that we were able to have this conversation and that you were able to take the time to talk to me. I feel like we could talk for hours. We've got to leave it here for now, but in the last few minutes that we have, other than people can find you obviously on YouTube through the behavior panel. Where else can people go to find out more about you? Tell us a little bit about the books that you have. I want them to know about where they can get more of their Mark Bowden if they haven't gotten enough right now.
Yeah. So where I live on the internet is a company called Truthplane, TRUTHPLANE, Truthplane. That's a whole other story. It's a whole other story. We'll visit that. So when we
part two. Yeah.
Part two. So that's where I live as a company, and go and visit that. And there's lots to see there. I've written 4 books on human behavior and body language, and read those. Those are great. And there's lots of video on my own YouTube channel. Just search Mark Bowden. You'll find me.
Fantastic. Thank you again, my friend. This has been an absolute pleasure.
My pleasure. My pleasure. See you again.
We hope you enjoyed this interview. If there is someone else you would like to hear from, a well-known creator, perhaps someone you feel that gets overlooked, please let us know in the comments. And please check out our playlist of past conversations. We appreciate you all. And please remember to like this episode and subscribe for more content like this. And thank you again for joining us for this episode of Courtroom Confidential Conversations.